Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning. Parents, what if we could give you the power to transform your family into something absolutely amazing?
A family where everyone is healthy, gets along, loves Jesus, and has great purpose in life.
Hey, let us flip your thinking to unlock the power God has given you to create your own Crazy Cool family. Hey, Crazy Cool parents, welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning. And this month, in the month of March, we are marching into marriage. And we are talking, every podcast is about marriage. And today we have, we've been talking we had a marriage podcast with you and I, and then we've been talking to our kids about marriage. And today we have our second daughter, Madeline, and her husband, Larry, Madeline and Larry Jones. And
the Joneses.
Yes, and they will have been married 5 years coming up very soon. They have two, April what?
29th.
I'm just getting birthdays down. And now I've got to go to anniversaries. But they have two children, two of our wonderful grandchildren, Truett, who is 2, and Everly, who is, 6 months? 7 months? 7 months.
So yeah, they had our first grandchild, Truett, and then they had our first granddaughter. So they're all about the first.
That's right. So we're going to talk to them today about where their 5-year-old marriage has been, where it's going, and what's working for them, as well as like working with small children in marriage, as we know a number of you parents are doing. So Madeline, you start. Just tell us something that's like working in your marriage right now at that 5-year mark.
I don't like starting. My brain, my internal processor brain always needs to think. I always look at Larry whenever someone asks a question. I'm like, you go. Something that is working in our marriage is that we are essentially, like at the beginning of this year, or maybe like the end of 2020, I had this big fear of like, oh my gosh, what happens if in 10 years Larry and I have nothing in common? What are we going to do about it? And so I was spending time with the Lord and I was like, what do we do? And he was like, well, why don't you guys just start doing things in common? Like why don't you just start doing things that each other likes? And so it started a couple different marriage challenges that we had and are still going to hopefully do in 2021. One of which was to read the whole Bible together in a month. So from Genesis all the way through Revelation, in 1 month. And so we did it and it was so cool.
You've already done it in 2021?
Yeah, because January, right?
Yeah, we read through in the month of January, we read through the whole Bible.
Most people, you want overachievers. Most people do that in a year or something.
Yeah, I was pretty hesitant when she brought that idea up. I was like, well, I'll cheer you on. That's a lot of scripture to get through in 1 month.
Exactly.
Anyway, so what's working is that it feels like we're on the same page. We bought a house together. We're raising some babies together. It's we're just keep doing things together. And that was challenging, but also feels like it's working because it's giving us some common things to talk about, because sometimes it feels like, I'm like, what do I have in common with you now that we're 5 years in? But it feels like doing things in common has been really fun and actually brought a lot of life. And every night we would get in bed and be like, can you believe that happened in the Old Testament today? Or, how did that feel to read, 60 chapters of Isaiah in one day, just really fun conversations. And so just having a little bit of intentionally pursuing different things to have common things to talk about, even though our lives are really full.
So for those of us who don't read 60 chapters of Isaiah in one day, what are some other things that you're looking forward to doing together in 2021?
Another thing we did was be both read through or audiobook listened to a book by Francis Chan about the church, and so we did that and so we read that and talked about that. Another thing we want to do do a
so reading a book together.
And they have so many free books through different apps or whatever, so we were able to do that. We want to do a 1 month workout challenge. We want to do
because you love to work out, Larry.
Well,
Madeline actually does.
Apparently
love to
I
work
must
out.
be the one that's the driver of all these ridiculous challenges. What were some other ideas we've had?
A negativity fast. So basically taking every negative thought and just trying not to have them in the first place, but then replacing them with 3 positive thoughts for every negative thought.
Oh, wow.
And intentionally doing that for 30 days. And I think it's going to transform things in our own hearts, but together it'll be fun to do
And
it
not
and hold each
saying
other
negative things out
accountable.
loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those
Yeah.
are things. We have like a little marriage like book thing that like has some different questions that you can ask. That actually I think Mom gave it to us like multiple years ago that we never have done. So we were going to do that, and like so different. Those are some different ideas that we've talked about.
What are some things that, when you look at year 1 or 2 of your marriage, now obviously you've inserted kids into the mix, but I mean, what are some things that you've overcome, in the 5 years that, things that were hard maybe in year one and 2, maybe aren't so hard now that you've broken through?
I think one of the main things is probably communicating with each other, which I thought we did in a decent job then in the first 2 years or first couple of years, but now I feel like has gotten far better, specifically because I've learned how to healthily manage emotions, which allows me to not. I'm one of the people who flees from conversations and will like.
You mean like flees from conflict?
Right, and will
Yeah.
stay quiet and not talk and shut down and go to a different room and want to just escape. But over the last few years, I've figured out how to manage that a lot more healthy, and we can have a dialogue and get over a conflict and laugh about it within 10 minutes.
Okay, so let's dive into that just a little bit because this is fun. So, like a lot of marriages would say that I think particular the husband shuts down when there's conflict, or it could be the wife as well. But I think a lot of times we see it that the wife wants to talk about it, wants to process, husband shuts down. So how did you guys? Do you think that was because you deepened your relationship with the Lord, or because did Madeline do something? How did y'all get to where now you're opening up more with her?
Probably a little bit of both. I definitely think connecting with God and becoming more confident and healthy myself was really helpful, because I thought I was really healthy and had a great relationship with God as a single person. But then I got married and all of these emotions flooded in that I didn't know existed. And so
And you didn't know what to do with them.
Yeah, I didn't learn how to deal with them as a single person because I didn't have them, or I didn't. I didn't
argue with myself.
I never had access to those emotions, and they got unlocked in engagement. And so, learning how to manage those with God was really helpful. But then also Madeline, who grew up in a healthy family and had dealt with several siblings that have a lot of emotions. She was
a master of
yeah,
emotions.
right. She was really helpful in helping me navigate how to walk through those emotions, which over time it's like a world of difference from year one.
Pre-podcast, pre-start of the podcast, you guys were talking about a situation where you were building a house for Truett. And so I think that's a great example of how, as you guys were explaining, I'm like, that hit that point. So take us through that little scenario that happened.
Yeah, so we were building, it was this little cashier checkout toy thing for kids.
Which, by the way, Larry can build anything if you want any kind of things
addition
done.
to the family.
Yes, he does all
it's
the
a
things
win.
I can't do, and so I'm super.
So he comes to my house and I have a honey-do list for my son-in-law.
Yeah, exactly.
Or else I call him on the phone. Hey, how do I disconnect this wire?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah. Don't touch the.
Yeah, this one was just a flat pack thing. I didn't build it out of wood or anything. But as I was putting it together, Madeline was sitting there holding, I think, Everly, and kind of playing with Truett with a couple of the fruit that came with it and building the little milk cartons or juice cartons or whatever. And I was building it, and Truett would take some of the screws and put them in his mouth or throw them away from me.
Every dad's worst.
Try to
man.
help.
Yeah.
And I'm over there trying to build it, and my goal was get this done so that Truett can play with it. And
Larry's very task oriented, and so if there's a task, like his goal is to get the task done, which makes sense to be task oriented.
So I'm great at getting the task done, but terrible at managing relationships while I'm dealing with the task. So in the midst of it, I'm like getting frustrated at Truett because he keeps taking pieces that I need to put together, and I'm just trying to make it happen and get it done. And he doesn't know I'm frustrated, but I know I'm frustrated because I just wasn't enjoying him during the project. And Madeline really simply whispered, what did you say to me?
I just said, I said, you're really focused on this task, which is great, but you're missing Truett in the process.
Yeah, and for me, 5 years ago or 4 years ago, I would have felt attacked, and I would have shut down. I would have probably not wanted to finish the project. I would have probably wanted to go and crawl in bed under the covers or something. Maybe not that dramatic, but kind of. And right then I was really simply like, yeah, you're right. I'm totally missing him. I'm totally not enjoying him. And so from then on, it's like, great, you can take the screwdriver and put the screw in the wrong spot and scratch the thing, and I don't care. I want to enjoy time with you.
Yeah, really, you just kind of let the length of the project go longer. You still got it done.
Right.
And it was, instead, you just had a different perspective on it, which, there's not a right or wrong to that. Sometimes it's like, honey, I need you to take Truett away because I need to finish this. That could have been the right answer too, or maybe because you were in a hurry or whatever. But in that case, you just listened to and allowed the project to lengthen and allowed it to be, it really just to welcome the interruptions in a sense.
Absolutely.
What I love about that story, though, is that you were able to receive Madeline's input and not interpret it as you're in trouble, you did something wrong or anything. She just said, here's a different way to do it, and you received it. And I think that so many times as spouses, like you said, you would have felt attacked, but you don't anymore. I mean, I love that. I love to be able to say, here's my idea. What do you, and take it and go with it and make a better experience instead of crawling under the covers.
Yeah, and some of that's me learning how to manage emotions, and some of that is her creating a culture of honor and respect towards me and celebrating and encouraging me over and over and over again. And so I know there's not ill intent as she goes to help me out.
What she could have done is, Larry,
you're not letting the baby help build it.
Well, but what's really cool too is I think that to that point about Larry is like over the 5 years, which is not very long, but over the time that we have been married, we have like intentionally made it a point where Larry knows that I am like a safe place no matter what, and I know that he's a safe place, because like that story makes me sound peachy, but there are like times like even like today I said
Doing
to him,
my best.
not peachy, I said something like, whether you're joking or not, when I ask you to do something and you, like I said this to his face, whether you're joking or not, when I ask you to do something and you say no, even if you do it, that's rude. That's how I said that to him, And he was like, today, like this is like 30 minutes ago,
This
like
is
this
current, real time.
And I said it in that tone, and I said it not very nice. And he said something along the lines of like a little snarky comment back, like, well, I did it anyway. Isn't that what you want? And I'm like, no, I want you to actually like da-da-da-da, and kind of like had it like not like, hey Larry, will you please be kind to our child and let him build the thing with you? Like that made me really sound nice. But what I'm saying is like, even in that conflict, we like kind of hashed it out and we got over it, and he was like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'll like do what you ask next time. And I'm like, thanks. And I will try to not like be so mean about it. But it's like, because of what Larry said, because he like knows I believe in him, that I like don't have permission to like kind of go off on him. But if I do for some reason, because I like lose my self-control and I say something in a tone I don't mean, he like doesn't take it as an attack. He takes it more as like okay, she's trying to tell me something here. I need to like filter through what all of her mess and just like listen to the heart of it, which is like, this was dishonoring to her and I want to like respond. And so like that was like a nicer that was like a harder version of like, I don't always say things nice, but Larry still knows that I love him and I think he's the greatest in the whole wide world. So when I'm asking him to do something or changing, no matter what my tone is, he in his heart doesn't feel attacked, or at least it can get over the attack quicker.
Totally. And we have made it a point from the beginning to believe the best in each other. And of course, as the years go on, we're getting better and better at doing that more often and faster. Yeah. It's just to fight for and believe the best in each other.
I've watched y'all, and I've learned that. I've been here a couple times when Madeline's had these babies, and I've kind of lived life. And Larry is a very gracious son-in-law to let his mother-in-law come in and take over. But I've learned from even how they interact and fight with each other, and have applied that to my 30-year-old marriage, because they do say what they're thinking, and they say it logically, and they say it realistically and authentically and honestly, and then they get over it. It's like it flares and then it's gone, and I just think it's a great thing.
If you're in the room while it happens, you feel like
yes,
and then it's gone.
But then it's gone. I mean, and that's the part that's like, oh, we didn't do that. That's not how we did conflict. We did more hide under the cover conflict.
It's really interesting dynamic too, because Madeline's a thinker, and so it allows me to say things a little more blunt. Not that I take the opportunity to, but that is helpful. And I'm the more emotional one. But since I've learned how to manage my emotions, and I think logically as an emotional person, which is kind of an interesting dynamic, it works for us to just say what we think, hear each other out, and move on.
Right.
Love it.
So, in this 5 years, you've had 2 children, and so going through, now, and we've just been here for a couple of days, and see how busy things can be with a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old, and
She's 7 months old.
I keep saying 6. Yeah, I need
Next
to,
month she'll be 8.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. But
Maybe he'll just skip 7
but-
altogether and go straight to 8.
Yeah, and Truett, the 2-year-old, is vocal.
Yes, she
and-
taught him to talk. I kept saying, babe, don't do that.
Yes.
Don't teach your kid to talk. You're going to wish you had.
So very
It was
high
precious.
energy, and how has that impacted your marriage, and in terms of your relationship as well as your parenting styles as well?
Like how you interact with each other
Yeah.
and the conflict that in and of itself brings up.
Yeah, it's definitely brought plenty, and we're like still trying to figure it out day by day. But just the other day, we got to get away for Madeline's birthday, and we kind of talked about it some, and trying to figure out, okay, being frustrated at him because we're trying to have a conversation and he's interjecting, and we can't say anything or have a meaningful conversation with each
And
other.
that happens frequently when
Like
you say,
all the
Every
time.
night.
we realize, okay, me getting frustrated at him doesn't produce anything fruitful in my life and his life, and so
Larry said it the other night at dinner. He said, frustration produces no good fruit. He's like, I can't think of anything good. And he's like, unless it motivates yourself to change, like in your own heart, like there's nothing good that I can see from like outwardly expressing frustration.
right, unless frustration frustrates you, and so you want to
yeah,
do something
so it
about
makes
it.
you change
Or
it.
if it like
Right.
helps you facilitate like how to teach your child to deal with their emotions. That would be the only way of like, if I bottle it, then he can never see me like externally process my frustration. But we were like, that's like discipleship. That's not even like necessarily positive fruit of frustration. And we were both really convicted. We're like, wow, we don't have an excuse to be frustrated ever.
right,
Right, because one relationship that frustrates you changes your demeanor, and then it affects the whole room that you're in, the whole environment. So I think when we were talking about it just the other day, how do we manage this? One is, don't expect meaningful conversations while the kids are awake. Give them your time and energy and focus, and then take care of them while they're awake, and then we can have conversation and talk about our days once they're in bed. And that frees us to not even have to think about being impatient or frustrated with them on the basis of trying to even converse with each other.
Yeah.
And it motivates for a really early bedtime too.
Yes.
Right?
Like, what time is it? Get them in bed. All right.
yeah,
I think something that like has been, I guess, just challenging has been that managing expectations, and specifically how we communicate, but then also how we parent. I just don't really follow rules. I don't like rules. I don't like enforcing rules.
It's the curse of her mother.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want everything to be fun all the time. I don't want to have to say no. So but there are like things that Larry is like Larry values, like keeping like our house clean or like stewarding our stuff well. And I would just like way rather everything be a party than like ever think about that kind of stuff. But like to honor Larry in our marriage, I've had to like put some boundaries and some rules and some different, like, and Larry's really gracious. He's not like, make sure the kids don't do this. But he's been like, hey, we just bought these new couches for our new house. I would love it if we could like keep them in good condition, instead of like Truett just climbing all over and eating whatever and drinking whatever and like, all this stuff. Could you like, we like try and keep them clean,
which you would be comfortable with the crawling.
Yeah,
and-
whatever.
and-
All
They
the
had a
food,
white couch.
Yeah, that was terrible. The white couch is a terrible idea. With children.
Especially when there's no
Yeah,
rules
yeah,
crawling.
yeah, exactly. And I was like, great, I can do that. Even though it's like not I don't really like enforcing rules. I don't like enforcing that rule. But Larry has asked that be something that happens in our household, and I'm like, great, I can do that. Or different things. So different things like that. There's like a bag of discs. Larry likes to play disc golf, and there's like a bag of discs that are his discs. And then normally in our house, like Truett pretty much can play with whatever he wants. But like that golf bag is like Larry's, and so we say that's Daddy's disc golf bag. We're not going to play with it. And so there's just been some different like areas that maybe I don't agree with, or like wouldn't be the way I would do them, but because I value my marriage and I value Larry's opinion and I like value him and what he values, then I'm like willing to adapt some of the different parenting strategies that I would have done differently in order to honor him.
Yeah, that's awesome. And did you have anything to say with that? Look like you're about to.
No, I was just going to say, and Larry does the same thing for Madeline. I mean, in that Madeline has got like, well, just natural consequences are the only consequences. And Larry's like, actually, I would like to have this be a consequence and this be a consequence. And so there's a beautiful give and take that you guys are working on right now. I mean, you've just got your first kid that needs to be disciplined. So you're just 2 steps into the journey, but you're already communicating well. So
Yeah, so I was going to go back to something that you said before. I love it that you're, trying to get on the same page with discipline. You were talking about we went out to dinner, we talked about this for Madeline's birthday or whatever. So a lot of parents where you're at are never going out because they can't leave the kids and you guys, we live in Texas, you live in Arkansas, and your parents are in Houston, Larry, so no parents around. What are y'all doing to try to get out and to be able to do things? To be able to get away and things like that, what do y'all do to make that happen?
Yeah, we definitely see it as a value. I don't know that we've made it a priority as much recently.
I had to special deliver my older sister in from Texas, fly her in. We flew her in for a night out for my birthday.
So it's been so my point, and really you have a sister here, Madeline,
Yeah.
and a brother. I don't know if he babysits some as well. But I mean, but it's been hard, right? I mean, I think is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, well, and plus we run a training school with some students, and so that's 2 nights of our week, and we go to our small group, and so that's a 3rd night a week. And then in the past, our church service used to be on Sunday nights. So in the fall semester, 4 or 5 nights a week were already taken up, and someone else was putting our kids to bed, or we were getting home at 8:30 or 9. Like multiple nights a week because our life was pretty full.
Yeah, so it's balancing the value of hanging out and being a family with our kids and putting them to bed versus us trying to get away and escape, which was kind of a conflict of interest, and we had to figure out which one we value more in the season. And I think we're coming out of it now. We have a few more open nights, and so we're like looking for ways for sure to add value to our marriage, just us two getting out. But then it comes with a nursing baby and all of those things too, which just creates another complication.
So the way we value it is like we would like try to make at least one night a week. Okay, we're going to talk. We're going to try and get in bed at 9 o'clock, and we're going to try and talk until we go to bed.
We're going to play math
games. Yeah. We're going to play, we played math games one night. Or like we're going to play a board game, or we're going to watch a show. I love watching a cheesy chick flick, and so it'll be a Saturday.
They're awful.
They're awful.
I fall asleep, and then I end up sleeping on the couch
until 3
a.m.
But to me, I'm just so happy. That's a wash. So we just make time to prioritize, even if we can't get out or can't get a babysitter or can't get a night away, we still try to make time. But even also trying to make trips, I think that you guys were the one that told us it's at least once a year get away on a trip. So we try and do that at least once a year, get away for a few days if possible.
Yeah, how is that with you? Are you good with leaving your 7-month-old? I mean, when did you get to where you were ready to do that and to leave your child? Or did you take her with you, or how did you do that?
Well, they haven't got away since they've had 2. Yeah.
Well,
right?
not for a weekend, but for a night, we'll leave her.
Yeah.
I think it just kind of depends on how her schedule goes and her day goes.
Because you did it with Truett. Didn't y'all go to Washington, or y'all went somewhere? New York.
Yeah.
With Truett.
And I remember when we were doing that. I mean, it seemed like when we did our evening or a couple of days away, we had a baby with us.
Yeah.
And so we would leave the other kids with someone, but that baby was, still nursing or whatever.
It's when they don't talk, you can take them with you. As soon as they start talking, you're like, leave that one at home.
It's hard. It's not easy to prioritize our marriage. Honestly, it's way easier to just play with the kids and then go to bed, but it's
a value.
And it's kind of become, to me, even more fun. I always wanted to be a mom, and then I got married. And I was like, this is fine, but I still want to be a mom. And now that I'm a mom, I'm like, wow, I'm so glad I married, because that makes everything so much better. And the more kids I have had, and the more I've been a mom, I have loved my marriage more, because I'm like, he's my teammate. He's not someone I'm parenting. I don't have to wipe his bottom. I just get to spend time with him. He's on my team. He brings me coffee. He makes me laugh. He's only become greater to me because he's not a responsibility. He's just really fun to me, and really sweet and safe place for me to talk to and be with and process with. I tell him, like, anytime I get a new shirt, if anyone asks who my best friend is, I always say Larry. And I say the way I know that is because when I get new clothes, I just tried them all on for Larry. I'm like, Larry, do I look good in this? Larry, do I look good in this? And then he's like, babe, you look good in everything. And I'm like, I need more friends.
That's so good. Okay, so we're going to ask one more question and then we'll wrap it up. So what have you learned about yourself in this 5 years of marriage?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is that I need to be like supported and championed.
Oh,
by
that's so good.
Madeline.
Men. Women, did you hear that? Our men need to be supported and championed. Tell us more about that.
Yeah,
it's so good.
It gives me a lot of security in who I am as the man of our house, and gives me freedom to live in a place of freedom. It sounds kind of funny, but it gives me freedom to be who I am and not have to feel like I'm trying to work really hard to get the approval of Madeline or our kids, because I already know that I'm like supported and championed by her. And so she's like behind me with the decisions I'm making and the direction I'm taking our family.
What do you think Madeline has done to champion you?
Yeah, give our women out there some practical. What does that mean? What does that look like? Good.
Yeah, I think really practically encouraging me. There's a lot more encouraging words that come out of her mouth than critical words. Mm-hmm. Definitely the encouraging words outweigh the critical words, which is really challenging for anybody in our world, because everything we're surrounded with is critical now, like media and news and all of the things. And so I think that dynamic of being encouraging more than critical, and even leading with that when she does have to tell me something that's more corrective natured, she always wraps it with encouragement and support. And I think that's really valuable to me.
Is that hard for you to do, Madeline, or is it?
It depends on how healthy I am. Like if I'm healthy and like spending time with God, and it just depends. Like it's not hard because I think he's amazing and it's like really easy to encourage him. But if I am like not feeling great about myself or feeling stressed out or overwhelmed, it's easy to be like look at, he like played with the kids and put them to bed and did all this stuff, and then the dishes didn't get done. And that's like the one thing I say is like, why didn't you do the dishes? Instead of like saying, hey, thank you so much for this, and this. Next time, can you just add the dishes on to that amazing list of things you did? Like, I just depends on how healthy I am. But I think another thing is that I think has help him believe that I believe in him is like just loving the things he loves, even though it's been like hard for me. And so the different things, like Larry loves investment and loves finances and loves thinking about it and talking about it. He loves playing disc golf. He loves building like woodworking stuff. And so I've just like made it a point to like ask him questions. Like there's like so many times that we have like a notepad on the table and we're just like drawing these wood projects, and I'm like, add this here, make this here, move this here, do this here. Partially because I want stuff built, but also because I like love that he loves it, and I want to love the things he loves.
But like, for example, I love this. I think that, and I think spouses can all learn from this, is that you may not be as interested in the stock market.
No, not at all. Or disc golf or woodworking.
She does a great job of convincing
Lowe's.
me.
I hate Lowe's and Home Depot. Don't ever take me to that store. But sometimes
he probably hates Hobby
Lobby.
But she loves everything that comes out of those stores.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's a great thing is that it's not about spouses, parents. It's not about you. When you make it not about you, then great things happen with your kids and your marriages and all the things that we do. So what are some things what's something that you've learned about yourself, Madeline, in the 5 years of marriage?
I need so much help.
I thought you were going to say Starbucks.
Well, that actually falls in the category of help because it's caffeine that brings energy.
Larry said recently, he said, I think the longer you're married to me, the less things you can do on your own. like taxes, taking out the trash, paying our bills. I'm like, the more I'm married to you, the less I'll keep the kids alive. You handle everything else. But really, I've been humbled at how much I need help and how much I have to ask him. Like, really, like he gets home from work and I'm like, hey, I can't anymore. Like the other day, Truett had pooped all over the floor, and right after I got the poop cleaned up, I went to like love on Everly and get her back to sleep because she'd woken up, and I picked her up and kissed her, and she puked all in my mouth. In my mouth, like literally a puddle of puke in my mouth. And I was thinking, this is not that big of a deal. I just fed her like a few minutes ago. This is like at least semi-fresh. And I come out to like rinse it out of my mouth, and it's chunky. It is chunky baby puke. Yeah. So Larry's like talking, like he comes out and he's like, he's like immediately talking to me. I come out of Everly's room, and he's just like sharing something with me that I don't care about at all. And I like look at him, and I'm like, I cannot do this. I'm going to shower, and I will come back in a better mood, you know? And there's like so many times I just like need him to help or jump in or stop doing what he wants, or like not have his wife for a minute and just like let me like get away. And so I think I've been really humbled at how much help I need and how helpful Larry has been to like step in and fill the gap in all the areas that I feel like I'm just like dropping the ball, whether it's like not keeping the house clean, or not having enough energy to finish the day with the babies, or cleaning up the potty training mess, or like taking the babies out so I can just like have a minute. So he's been like really helpful, and I realized I've learned in marriage that I like need a lot of help. I'm not as independent as I thought.
It's a world of difference from like year one. We would go to the grocery store and come home, and she would try to put every bag on her arms to take in the house. And I'm like, you have a husband. Like, I can help you out.
You married muscle.
Let me help you.
Right.
One of the things, let me just say this and then you can wrap us up, that I love about you guys is, and you said it a couple of times, but you were really good about taking care of yourself. You know, spending time with God, making that happen. You're so disciplined. But I think about too, like Larry will go play disc golf on part of his Saturday just to kind of have a break because he's fun and he enjoys that. And then Madeline has this system in place that she takes a shower every night she says to wash off the day, you know, and she says sometimes it's a 5-minute shower, sometimes it's a 30-minute shower, just depending on what kind of day it's been. And what I love about that, and I know there's a long list of other things you guys are doing, but you're taking care of yourself. You know, it goes back to the scripture, love the Lord God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. And you start backwards. As you're loving and taking care of yourself, then you've got what it takes to love your neighbor as you get filled up from loving God. Yeah,
go ahead. Do you have something? It's been a great podcast. So appreciate you guys getting on and sharing your hearts and sharing, you know, that it's not all rosy, but I love it that, you know, as I think about it, you know, some things that I got out of it just listening to you is communication, is making sure that you're talking and that you believe each other is for each other. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that's one of the things you said, Larry, is so many times in marriages, especially at your stage of where you are, the kids are coming in, a lot of stuff going on. We start to think that almost that we're out to get each other rather than we're for each other. Total different mind shift. And you know, Larry, you were talking about how you love to be championed, and Suzanne, you were so funny. Okay, women, listen to this, but it goes both ways. You know, the wife wants to be cherished. She wants to be told she's beautiful. When she puts those clothes on, it's like, oh yes, you are. You're beautiful, and she can't be told enough that. So I mean, it's really just, you know, communication, being for each other, working through the inevitable. I mean, with kids, and it comes inevitable conflicts in parenting styles and all those things. And so parents, I hope you're encouraged by that, you know, that if you're in year 5 or 7 or 10, that you are starting to work towards each other rather than away from each other.
Good.
And if you're not, then what can you do to flip your thinking? Remember, you know, how do you guys get on the same page where you say, yes, I'm for each other? How do you change those things where you encourage instead of being critical and do some of the things that they're doing, spending time together, deepening
Common
yourself,
ground.
you know, and also finally, I'll wrap it up with this, is just taking care of yourself. You know, that's one of the things you guys have both said, that you really focus on taking care of yourself so that you can take care of each other and bring out the best in each other. Any final comments from anyone?
No. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much for being with us.
Absolutely.
And we hope that you are benefiting from the marriage march, and the march through marriage in March. And we're going to continue to march on, and we're focusing on our marriages and making that marriage line strong. So
Well, and then I want to just make a plug for the last podcast of the month. We got to interview Ashley and Dave Willis with the Naked Marriage podcast. And so we invited them onto our podcast. And so we have a treat for you at the end to wrap the month up.
Yep, absolutely. And keep on listening to all our marriage podcasts. We hope it's benefiting your marriage greatly. So go be crazy parents, crazycoolfamily.com.